let's start with a fundamental truth is that electrons are identical. They're indistinguishable, which is more so than identical. What I mean by that is you can have identical twins. They might be able to stand next to each other. Their DNA may be very similar. It may be hard to stand them apart, but they are different people. There are differences between them. If you take two electrons, they are the same. Indistinguishably, they are the same. There's no way to tell them apart. They aren't different. If you have A particle and B particle, one might be green, one might be red. There'll be 10 ways to distinguish them, to put them into two beakers. You could put them both together in one, put them both together in another, switch them. All those would be distinguishable. But with two electrons or two protons, if you take them and put them in different beakers, switching them around would not be a different scenario because those two electrons are the same exact thing. They're indistinguishable. That is not a different scenario if you switch A from B. There is no A, there is no B. They're the same exact thing as far as we know today.
That's with electrons and both protons.
Protons and neutrons. Yeah, it's subatomic particles.
And neutrons, you said?
Yeah. Those are the three aspects of making up an atom.
Isn't there a fourth particle to an atom?
Well, there are
subdivide. You get quarks inside of them.
Yeah, there's subatomic particles. All right, so I guess that's a sub. So atomic particles are protons, neutrons, electrons. Skip over that. So what we're talking about here is electrons, and at an electron level, someone ran an experiment at one point called the double-slit experiment, and basically what that is if you took a paintball gun and you shot it at a wall, it's just straight. It's facing straight at the wall. It's fixed. No one's spraying and praying or anything like that. If you shot it, there's going to be some spin on those paintballs. You know, they're going to not always hit the same spot. But they're going to hit kind of like a pattern, and it's going to be reliable. Like after you shoot enough, there'll be a reliable shape that you will always see. Statistically, you'll always see that shape. Let's not account for like diminishing of CO2 in the back of the gun or anything like that. Let's just say it's a constant speed, constant shape, constant distance that has to go. The double slit experiment basically says that in this case, if you put a wall halfway between where the paintballs were launched and where the paintballs hit the observable pattern that they made, if you put a wall in there and put two slits that are passable, if you're shooting that paintball gun, now all of a sudden, through those slits, some of the paintballs would go, and on the back end, you will see a pattern that was made by the ones that made it past the double slits, right? Does this make sense to you guys? Where there'll be two vertical lines if you shoot enough paintballs of where the paintballs landed on the back wall. And we're going to call this the point of observation. And that's what you expect, right? You expect that you open up those two slits, because it's like, Cheek, you look like you're a little troubled on this. If you have two walls, one solid and there's another solid one behind it, you would shoot a paintball gun on the first solid wall, you'd see this painting of paintballs. You open up two vertical slits, all of a sudden that painting of paintballs gets two slits of it get let through and land on the back wall, right? And what you would expect from that is that you'd have this vertical painting of paintballs. If you take that down to, and that's what you'd expect. You don't have to be watching that. You don't have to have anything else. It just happens. If you take that down to a subatomic or an atomic level, this is a true experiment. This has happened thousands of times, been recorded with thousands of different types of equipment, materials, all that stuff. Take this down to shooting electrons instead of paintballs. Same exact experience. You shoot you shoot electrons at a wall through a double slit, and what ends up happening is you get a wave pattern. And what a wave pattern is this, it looks kind of like, if you're mathematically painting it on an X and Y axis, a wave pattern looks like a heartbeat almost. It can look like anything, but best explanation is a heartbeat. And that basically is a statistical prediction of a landing point of an atom.